Hello, everybody, and welcome again to our author interviews. Today, I have Shane Millar with me, and Shane has a very interesting bio. He's an author, fantasy author, and we're going to talk about that. He's also a Fictionary Certified StoryCoach editor, and he's a judge for the Fictionary Book of the Year award this year. So we'll talk about all of that a little bit. But first, Shane, why don't I get you to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, sure. So as Christina said, I am Shane. I write urban fantasy under the pen name S.W. Millar. I've got 4 books out at the moment, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I've been writing for about 3 years now, on and off, and dipped my toe into self-publishing in January this year.
So today we're talking about The Demon Shadow, which is a brand new release. So can you tell everybody what that book is about?
Yeah, I certainly can. So The Demon Shadow is the 4th book in my Myth and Magic series, and it follows the adventures of Detective Inspector Christian Winter, who's an inspector for the Magical Investigations Department, and he is tracking down a supernatural organized crime group who is charged with stealing the cursed crown of King Arthur.
Oh, exciting. Now, the supernatural, can you share a little bit about what that is, or is that giving away too much?
No, not at all. So I have various supernatural creatures within my world. The main characters are usually witches, and then I also have demons, obviously, which is the title of the book, and then their counterparts who are sorcerers. So demons are kind of like the dark side, and sorcerers are the lighter side, and they all feature within the series.
Nice, nice. Okay, so it's an urban fantasy book, right? So that's a genre within fantasy. And can you tell everybody, what is urban fantasy?
I can tell you that. So an urban fantasy is usually set in the modern day, and it's usually set in our world with supernatural elements. As the name suggests, urban, it usually is set in a city. If you go rural, that kind of turns into contemporary fantasy. And the protagonists are usually snarky, they're usually tough, and that's one of the hallmarks. And also the supernatural world is usually, but not always, hidden from the mortal or human world.
Oh, interesting. It's fascinating to me how all the genres have a little bit of difference in them. And, anyone listening, of course, it's tough to figure out what they are. So it's good to look at authors who are writing in that genre, and then you can see what they're doing and what are the key things that need to be in that genre. And of course, Shane has written a blog about this. So if you want to go to fictionary.co and just look at the blog, you can get more information on what is urban fantasy. So let's talk about your series a little bit. Give us sort of the overview, and should people read them in order?
Yes. So the overview is, I based the whole series around the King Arthur myth, but I wanted to set it in the modern day. One, because I'm obsessed with that myth. I always have been for some strange reason. And 2, I'm a massive fan of authors like Jim Butcher and Mike Carey. So the urban fantasy influence is there, and that's why I decided to do that. In terms of the series overview and the wider world of the series, it starts off very small and contained with witches and an organization known as the Covert Executioners Network, Coven for short, and they basically are charged with killing criminals. And then as the series progresses, we uncover some secrets about Coven, we introduce the Magical Investigations Department, and then we introduce the other supernatural creatures as the story continues as well.
All right, terrific. So through your series, I noticed on your Amazon page that you've got some novels and some novellas, novelettes. Talk about that a little bit, and the decision to go longer and shorter with the different books.
Yeah, so first of all, I didn't really know what I was doing. I'll own up to that straight away. And second of all, the particular novelette, book 3, is based around a character called Talitha, and her story just came to me in a flash, demanded to be told, but wasn't obviously as long as a novel. But the events that happen in that novelette do link book 2 and 3 together. So that was the rationale behind it, I think, if there was one.
Nice though, but that's kind of the fun of writing, right? That stuff comes out of nowhere. And I'm sure many people listening are thinking so envious because when the idea comes out of nowhere, like here's your book, thank you, wherever that nowhere is, right?
Yeah, it's only happened once. It's never happened again. So I'll take it though.
Nice. Yeah, of course, right? Because it's just that one little piece of joy right there. So well done. All right. Okay, so you edited your manuscripts in StoryTeller.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that experience a little bit and how that influenced your writing or helped you or didn't help you.
Yeah, certainly. So I think the most helpful thing about Storyteller, and I think this is whether you're editing your own book or if you're an editor editing a client's book, would be the story arc that Storyteller draws for you. I mean, you know what it's like. You're a writer yourself. You get so in the weeds. You're so close to your own work that sometimes you think you've covered all those plot points and you really haven't, or they're totally out of whack. Your midpoint is at like 65% or something stupid. So that really, really helps to organize those scenes. And you can, because of the way the arc draws itself, you can see exactly where they're placed and exactly where they should be placed as well. And I think that is one of the defining, unique things about Storyteller.
Nice.
We don't have to try and guess whether we've put the plot points in the right place or come back to it afterwards and work out how many pages are in the book and is it in the right place. It does it for you. So for me, I think that's one of the most groundbreaking things about the software.
Nice. And so can you tell me what the most significant change you made is based on this?
Yeah, I can. So my insight, speaking again of the story arc, my inciting incident was in the completely wrong place. I can't remember whether it was way too early or way too late, but because of the way the arc had drawn and I could see where the other plot points were in relation to the inciting incident, I was able to fix it and work out which scenes needed to be shifted, moved, and which scenes needed to be put around it to make it work.
Fantastic. All right. So you did your book and then you export your novel, and then what happened?
Yeah. So when I export after an edit, whether that's using Fictionary or doing a self-edit on my own, I will always do a proofread because we all know that those pesky typos are in there, and it doesn't matter how many times you read it, there will always be one. But I think the thing that I've learned is it's so much better if either you proofread by reading the book out loud or by using something like the text-to-speech feature in Microsoft Word to go through your manuscript and have it read it to you and follow along so that you can really catch those niggly bits, which has really helped me.
Nice. So you're talking like if of kind of typos where it doesn't show up as a typo, but you'll hear it.
Yeah.
Is that what comes out?
Yeah, exactly. So you would hear and see the difference between certain words that either sound the same or look the same.
Right.
So that's definitely one of the things I like to do before I send it to my own editor, because I like to give them as clean a manuscript as possible. Nobody wants to be wading through 300 pages of my spelling mistakes, really.
No, and it's stuff you can finish yourself or fix yourself, and so why pay an editor for it, right? You might as well.
Exactly.
And the editor tends to help you with more high-end stuff if your book is a little bit better quality, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything you'll do differently starting your fifth novel?
Yeah, I think so. I think I will spend, I mean, I plot anyway, sorry, but I think I spend more time in that plotting stage just to make sure all the plot beats are correct, because I think that's one of the most key things about story, and one of the things I would really emphasize to a client if I was doing a story edit, to have those recognized plot beats in the right place, because, you know, readers expect a certain story when they read, or they expect certain things to happen at a certain time. And I'm sure we've all read books where that hasn't happened and it's left us feeling dissatisfied. So I think that is the main thing that's going to satisfy your reader. You don't necessarily have to be the best writer in terms of sentence structure, grammar, prose. I mean, it all helps, but the story is really what's key.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So do you know what your fifth book is yet?
I do, yeah. So my fifth book is going to be called The Sorcerer's Prophecy, and it follows the story of the reincarnation of Morgan Le Fay, which, for those of you who don't know the King Arthur legend, is King Arthur's devious enchantress half-sister.
Yeah. And devious is a very kind way of putting it.
It is.
Seriously, yes. Okay. So let's also talk about, so you went through the certification program with Fictionary, and you are a Fictionary Certified Story Coach editor. So how does that influence how you're writing and editing of your own work?
Yeah, of course. It's helped me be such a better writer. And I know I keep harping on about it, but just from a story standpoint and knowing why stories work, but also all the things that go around that. So the development of a good character arc, for example, which is another thing that the Fictionary software draws for you, which is fantastic. And also, have you included enough setting? Because I don't know about you, but I'm a chronic underwriter in my first drafts. And then I will have to go back in and add in all those setting details. And because you have effectively a checklist as you're going through the Fictionary software, you can literally go through and check every single thing off, even down to something that I often forget. So if the scene's set outside, you'd be looking at the weather, for instance, and how that's impacting the character, the story, the emotional tone of the scene. All those things are really important. So I'm biased, obviously, but I would recommend that everybody at least takes a look at the Fictionary software, because it will change the way you write.
Yeah. And so as a story coach editor, just to flip it around now, when you're looking at somebody else's book, what do you look at differently than when you're looking at your own?
Yeah, you're further away from the text. So I think you've got a more practical view of the story, whereas when you're in your own story, you sometimes can't see the woods for the trees. But I think it's different when you're looking at a client's work, because you can read through the entire story first. That's what I tend to do, just to get an overview of the story. And because I've already got those story elements in mind, I will be making notes as I read and thinking, right, that's something that needs to be fixed. And then as you go back through the manuscript, it's just such a detailed way to edit using StoryCoach, because you have, like I said, it's effectively a checklist, so you can't really miss anything. Whereas if you're editing without those prompts and that software, you could miss something really glaring and really big. So I think that's the best thing about the software for me.
Yeah, so I can tell people watching that if you're looking for an editor, now, do you like to edit mostly in the fantasy genre, or do you like to edit other genres as well?
Yeah, I'd specialize in fantasy, and I specialize in the subgenres of fantasy. I will look at thrillers as well, because I'm an avid thriller reader. So they're the two genres that I would edit.
Terrific. So anybody watching this, if you go to fictionary.co and you look on the Story Coach page, you'll see our list of editors. You can find Shane through there to hire him as a Story Coach editor for you. And also at the bottom of this video, I will put links to where you can find Shane on his website, and also where you can buy his books. And when you read them, please leave a review, because that is super important to readers. And we should all support each other when we're reading a book and we like it. And you don't have to write much, just a little bit to say, yay, like the book, check, perfect. And that will help Shane along in his writing career. So thank you, Shane. That was terrific to hear about everything that you're doing. Super busy. And I wish you all the luck with this book.
Thank you very much.